These two guys have Minnesota sports flowing in their veins. Mackey and Judd on Score North and ScoreNorth.com.
Kaprizov trying to center. It is score! Erickson ties it for the Wild. Unbelievable! And back come the Wild. It's 3-on-1 at the Jets line. Kaprizov to Fiala. Kaprizov, Erickson, and scores! The hat-trick wins it for the Wild. There it is. There it is.
It's a new era of Wild hockey. Yes, ode to joy
There it
until
is. The Wild flag.
the world ends.
Yes, it was 2003, but who cares? It's the flag, state of hockey.
Wow. Inject all of that into our veins last night. You guys did a Judd's Hockey Show. If people missed it, Judd's Hockey Show multiple days a week now. The season has started. But this is Mackey and Judd, daily Minnesota sports entertainment. And damn it, we want titles. We are raising the bar for expectations among Minnesota sports fans. And the Wild, maybe the team most likely to win a title right now. If we took all the teams, United, Lynx, all the teams included, I think the Wild number one on the team most likely to win a championship pecking order in this town.
Yes, yes. And they are all small. Hold on. Sorry. You play that, I got to wave the flag again.
Oh, sorry.
See, I got to wave. It's a requirement in my contract now that I got to wave the flag if you play Ode to Joy.
We're just gonna hit Judd at random moments in his life. Judd's out to brunch on bye-week Sunday with Don.
I gotta go get it, Don.
Oh, sorry,
bud. Sorry. Hold the flag. State of hockey flag.
Amazing.
What are you doing with the flag there? That's an appropriate gesture. All right. So what were you saying? So most team most likely to win the title, and you were saying.
Yes, because they are the team that I mean, that game last night, it was a regular season game. It felt like a playoff game. The intensity, and I told Dex, so the most important thing, Phil, in my opinion, as somebody who spent years, as you know, being incredibly critical of this team, furious rallies to me was an insult, because that was a team that didn't care until they did care. And then it's like, we're going to catch up now. And I felt like, just don't even try. Like, if you don't care, you don't care. They put on a lowercase furious rally last night, but what paid off was the hard work and caring. So you don't get a guy on an empty net goal who goes offsides. Like, that's damn near impossible to screw that play up unless you also create your own luck to a certain degree, right? So just to be clear, the furious rallies uppercase are gone because those guys didn't care for huge portions of the game. And then they're like, this team actually cares a lot. It's led really well. And the other thing is, and this is where they're going to get you, Macadac, where they're going to get you is this. The speed of this team now is so much fun to watch.
Okay, because I was going to ask you about the furious rallies. I wanted to know, and I'm glad you brought this up, I wanted to know what's the difference between what we saw last night and the team for years that you coined the furious rallies, where they would, okay, I guess, all right. And from what you're saying, it sounds like the furious rallies were the college student. I'm looking at myself here, by the way. Mm-hmm. The college student that knew that he had, or she, like 25 days to complete a term paper. And the night before it's due, you're playing video games and you're like, oh man, I should probably start on that term paper, huh? I got a 15-page term paper. I guess I should probably start now. And this incarnation of the Wild is starting that term paper on day one because they care. They're invested in the class. Is that a fair assumption?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And on the speed front, I mean, even the Hockey Whisperer last night is watching that thing. Like, let's talk about overtime for a second. Because, like, Kirill Kaprizov hasn't scored a goal yet this season, but the way he controls the game, especially in overtime, there was one possession where a possession kind of blew up. I think this was overtime. Might have been toward the end of the third, but I think it was overtime. A possession kind of blows up, and ordinarily it would have been like a turnover, like, the old plotting Wild would have just like, oh, the possession blew up, and now like, oh, I turned the puck over and odd man rushed the other way or something.
Right.
Kaprizov regains control, skates it towards center ice, turns back around, skates back in. It was like NHL 95, right? You're just skating around. Yeah. Possession, speed, tic-tac-toe passing in overtime. Like, what are these things that we haven't seen?
There it is. All right. I'm going to carry this around. Like any time of day, that should go off.
And like for a dude to control the game without scoring like he does, it really stands out to the casual hockey whisperer here.
And I think the play you're also talking about is the one that eventually led to the power play, which led to the game-winning goal in overtime. So that's just who he is. I mean, he commands so much respect on the ice and so much attention gets drawn on him that other players are going to start to succeed. Like Joel Eriksson-Ek should be a player that parks himself in front of the net and cleans up garbage goals and works hard and is a pest and is a pain in the ass to play against. But now all of a sudden, Ek is getting in space and has opportunities to create highlight reel goals. His wraparound goal yesterday, that's a goal Joel Eriksson-Ek has never been able to show that he scores. It's an exact kind of play Bill Guerin says to me, no, Declan, you're wrong. He has more skill than you think, and he can actually score highlight reel goals. He literally, his presence alone lifts up the team, and it's solely on him.
Eriksson-Ek has full seasons in which he's only scored 6 goals, 8 goals. He had a hat trick last night. Grab the flag.
The flag's back
up.
The flag. I need your help in here. Too much flag. I'm getting tired. You got to relieve Sports Dad.
And the crazier part is that top line, which, by the way, is honestly the best top line the Wild have probably had in years. Like, even in Parise Suter era. Like, I don't remember, at least talent-wise, Zuccarello, Kaprizov,
the skill?
Beck, having the natural skill they did. And last night, they combined for 10 points. 10 points, and it still felt, as Judd and I talked about on Judd's Hockey Show, they could have done even more. Like, it feels like they're scratching the surface of what this top line can really do. And they had 10 points combined last night.
They're not to the point yet of all three of them being on the same page, which is really scary. 14 shots on goal, 5 goals, 10 points. And that is frightening. But here's so if you're a sports fan in this town, and I hesitate to go here because we've gone here before, I feel like at times, and it's blown up. But I'm going to tell you right now, the Wolves start tonight. Ant Edwards has the potential to be, and seems to have the maturity to be, a guy that can make a difference for an entire franchise, right? Like, he's that type of player. He's special. And he gets it. Kaprizov, again, a marvelous talent, but I'll give you two things. One, the Jets, who were playing him for the first time last night, thought, we're going to come in and push him around. And what did he do? He pushed back. Furthermore, you guys tell me, how many guys in this town on a breakaway chance, or if something were to happen, get tripped, slam into the end boards, whiplash their head, are down for a second, get up and are like, no, I'm staying on. Bleep this. I'm staying on, and I'm going to play great. I am going to play better. The third guy, Justin Jefferson. You throw the ball in his area code, and lots of times he's just going to make the damn catch. Like, how long has it been since we've had the ability, I feel like, to be this excited by 3 players on different teams who are all young and in their own way, all really, really talented and seem to get it?
Yeah, it's a blast. It is. Like, and I want to give Ant a little more time before I officially crown him. Okay.
Hold on, I'm doing it. I triggered it myself.
But it is a blast. Actually, let's okay. 3 games doesn't tell the whole story of a season here, but I think there's just a lot to be gleaned in these first 3 Wild games. Let's continue this Wild Appreciation Wednesday here. What are your favorite things about the first 3 games of a new era of Wild hockey? And some might say, well, actually last year was the new era because Kaprizov kind of took over as the face of the franchise.
Correct.
But last year was the handing off of the baton. But now the guys who've handed off the baton, against their will, by the way, Suter and Parise are gone. And now Koivu's gone. And you look up and down the roster, and instead of a bunch of dudes who are 35, 36, it's a bunch of dudes running this team who are in their mid-20s for the first time.
Yep.
What new era of Wild hockey, 3 games in, what are your favorite things?
Speed is number one. If you're a bunch of really good guys and you can't play, you still suck. The speed of this team, aside from a guy like Rask, is incredible. Like, they play at pace now, and the pace of this league is, in person, it's incredible. On TV, it's fun to watch. When you are at the game like Dex and I were last night and seeing that game up and down, and the Jets are a good team. So like, the Jets are a formidable foe. Kings aren't that good. The Ducks aren't that good. The Jets are good. That's my number one. My number 2 thing is Marcus Foligno, who is now an alternate captain, replacing Parise and Suter. How will you ever replace how they led this team? Marcus Foligno, who has always led and been a important voice, has gone up like 3 notches. Every shift is incredible. His skill continues to improve, which is sort of weird. He's just off the charts. Like, this is the type of guy that you want. He is the exact type of guy that you want. And then my last thing is probably the fact that this team as a whole is legitimately, and you can tell it, on the same page. Like, they finally carved out all of the guys who were like, well, man, my ice time. I mean, we won, but look at my ice time. I'm not quite so sure that that's the right ice time for me. I'm supposed to be
you got to talk to my agent about
exactly.
Yeah.
All
right, Zach.
The game's done. The game's done, and we won. But I'm going to call my friend Craig Leopold, who owns the team, and I'm going to complain about a couple of all that crap is done. So I think Dex, it's a combination to me personally of you need to be really good and skilled, and they're now skilled and fast, but also the culture of this team now has pivoted completely, which it couldn't. And this is why they bought out Suter too. It couldn't as long as both Ryan and Zach were still there.
Yeah, I would say skill and speed are 2 things that just this team has lacked for a long time. Nino and Granlund and Zucker, they all were somewhat of that. Cool. Zucker was a fast player, but Niederreiter and Granlund, they were up and down all the time. It just seems like Ek, Fiala, Kaprizov are completely different. And Fiala just has a tenacity about him that even when he's having an off night, which last night I didn't think he had a great night last night. He turned the puck over a ton, which is kind of Kevin to a degree, but he didn't have a great night, but you always notice him. And the swagger about this team, like a guy like Fiala, and even what Dumba brings as well, because like Dumba's an alternate captain who has come a long way on and off the ice in his career, and Bill Guerin wants to amplify him. And Dumba's mantra and just swagger, too, is important for this team. Everyone else was, I think, so afraid to step up and be leaders. Bill Guerin talked about, we want everyone in the room to have a voice here, which is basically a shot at the old regime saying, if you guys, if no one wants to say anything, please speak up. Don't let anyone just strangle out the life of this locker room. He wants, if Nico Sturm, for God's sakes, wants to speak up and say something, he should have the power to do that without being afraid because the old guard would not approve of something like that. Yeah. So yeah, I think skill and speed and like Judd said, the chemistry and just vibe of this team are just completely different than past teams.
And I'll add another one here because I think if you go back, I'm trying to think the first year they made the playoffs in the new Parise Suter era was like 9 years ago, 2012, 13, somewhere in there. So they've been a playoff team or a borderline playoff team for the better part of a decade, almost every year. But in almost every one of those series, they haven't had the best player on the ice. Certainly against Chicago in all those series. I think St. Louis and Colorado have had the best, like who's the best player in the series, rank all the players. It's very rare that the Wild have had the best player in the series. or in any given game even. Like, just think about the 82 games in the regular season. Like, how many of those throughout the last 8 years or so have the Wild had the best player on the ice? And there are better players than Kaprizov in the NHL, but they're going to have the best player on the ice a lot more often now than I think they have. All due respect to prime Zach Parise was a really good player. But even prime Zach Parise would line up, and he'd be more of like the second or third best player on the ice when lined up against some of the top teams in the conference and looking over to the East too. So just knowing that you've got Kaprizov and knowing that you've got the best player on the ice changes a lot of things. I think it changes the mentality. I think it changes the way that the opposing team operates, and it probably, to Dex's point earlier, it probably opens up more opportunities for guys like Eriksson Ek, who might not be top scorers, but they have more, open space potentially to operate because so much attention is being paid to Kaprizov. So,
and great players free up the entire team, because Kaprizov, and the thing too is, though, you got to watch his entire game, because if he was just really talented and good and sort of blew off like he got hit and he would just get mad and pout, because he lashes out back, which is, I think, outstanding. He gets knocked down. He gets up and he shoves it up your you-know-what, not, oh, no, I got knocked down. That's what's so important, because he sets a tone by just flat out being great, which is important, but he sets a tone by his actions too. And so like when you watch Kaprizov work, how can you say, yeah, but I'm trying hard too? I mean, one, he is a superior player to you. Two, are you going to allow him to outwork you? Because he will. And so the greatest thing, to go back to my point about the three potential stars too, the greatest thing about what's going on here too is, I feel like in this town, and what I'm about to say is going to sound weird at first, so bear with me. I feel like we jersey chase as far as the back of the name goes. We're desperate to anoint stars. Granlund's really good. He's a star. I'm going to get a 64 jersey and put Granlund on the back and root for him. Or Zucker's really fast. We're desperate to anoint stars. And the problem with that is it stops us from knowing what stars are. And in Kaprizov, you're seeing a star. Mm-hmm. So like instead of Zach Parise at the height of Zach's career worked really hard and was pretty skilled, but he wasn't anywhere near a superstar ever. But we were desperate to chase the jersey. What jersey can I get? Get an 11. Parise, he's the star player. Koivu's the captain. He must be great. No, he's good. You now are seeing in Kirill Kaprizov what a star is. You can go buy his jersey. You have a star's jersey.
Here's a question for you guys about the first 3 games of Kaprizov. I think when you think of star NHL players, most people think of the top goal scorers, right? The guys who are, scoring 40 goals. And by the way, he might still score like 35 or 40 goals if he plays a full season. But I almost feel like he spends just as much time, or maybe more time, trying to set other people up. It kind of reminds me of the way that, and this is going to sound ridiculous too, because I'm drinking all kinds of Kool-Aid here, as you can tell. I don't want to compare him to, but like in the NBA, Magic Johnson and LeBron James could score 40 points every night if they wanted to, but they know that it's better for the team if they spend the first quarter or chunks of games getting other people involved and distributing and just being that straw that stirs the drink. Like, and even just pulling up the first 3 game box scores, like he's only taken 7 shots in the first 3 games.
It's not enough.
He's not, you could say it's not enough. But he's also spending time facilitating and getting other players involved, and it may be the way that he's approaching it makes the entire team better as opposed to him just trying to get his. I guess my question to you is, do you notice that, or do you still think he's not shooting enough?
Well, 2 things. I think number one, just his presence and what he's able to do as a playmaker. Like, he is naturally a playmaker. When Judd makes a comparison to Patrick Kane, I think that is honestly dead accurate. Like, Patrick Kane has the ability to take over a game if he would like to. He obviously has had the skill. I know he's up there in age, but he has shown the ability that he can take over a game and score a big-time goal. Wild fans know that really well. But he's a playmaker as it is. But Kirill last year, through the first, I believe it was 12.5 games, and I think there was other teams and other media outlets that were chirping Mr. Zulgad and myself, saying that, why are you complaining that Kirill Kaprizov doesn't shoot more? And then all of a sudden, Kirill doubles his shot total, and guess what happens? He scores more goals. So you can also take your star players and have expectations for them and raise them up even more and say, wait a minute, yeah, this player's damn good. This top line is damn good. And they had 10 points last night. I still don't think it's enough, and we're just scratching the surface. It's okay to ask even more from your star players, and that's a good thing.
Here is, if you want the deep dive into the analytics. So Declan often talks about Corsi and Fenwick, which are sort of possession stats based on shots attempted. So let's call it activity. When Kaprizov is on the ice through 3 games this season, the Wild are out. I'm going to say out accessing, because that's a different metric. But they are
generating more chances
at a 2-to-1 clip compared to the opposing lines through 3 games. That's pretty amazing.
That line flat out generates a ton of chances. I think as Eck gets more comfortable too, and I mean he works his ass off, so it's great. The one thing, Phil, to keep in mind, and why Kaprizov needs to shoot more, Zuccarello won't. He wants to set up plays. Like that line is, Zuccarello is going to be in some ways, I would say, a pseudo center, because he's a really good passer and he will shoot, but he doesn't love to shoot. Eck is the garbage man. He's going to clean up. Like he is going to score a ton of goals in front. He's going to get beat up, which is awesome. Kaprizov is going to have to be, and he is, the trigger man. He's going to have to be the guy who, because he's going to score the goals. He's going to, and his shot is incredible. But to be clear, I'm not criticizing him, because there's nothing wrong with the fact that his overall game is so damn good. But I think at the end of the day, and why Kaprizov probably will score between 35 and 40 goals to me, is because his role, they're going to have to sit him down, or his dad is going to have to call him again and say, you got to shoot the puck, because you're the guy on this line to shoot. Because Zuccarello is not going to change. Like, he is not going to say, I'll shoot a ton. He's going to score goals, but he will not shoot a ton. And he sets up plays beautifully.
If you guys have Wild fever, like we clearly do here, right now.
Hold on.
Right.
Flag.
Wave that flag.
Freak flag fly, Judd.
Good news for you, because we're giving away Wild Predators tickets for the upcoming game on October 24th for free on the Score North app. So the Score North app is free to download. It's the central hub for everything we do here, all of our podcasts, all of our YouTube videos, all of Judd's written work, all of our other podcasts. All you have to do is open the app, register, and enter, and we'll pick a winner on October 21st, which is tomorrow. So you got about 24 hours to get your submissions in. And if you're a college student, even better news, college night discounts are back this season at the X, and Wild tickets start at just $39. There's a few games to choose from each month, and you can find out more at wild.com/theme packs. How much fun was the atmosphere last night in that building?
It was awesome. It was Judd's right. It felt like a playoff game. And obviously, I'm sure 21 months without a full capacity crowd will do that. Your home opener will naturally do that. But when Brendan Dillon of the Winnipeg Jets made the foolish decision to drop the gloves with Marcus Foligno, who then channeled his inner Roman Reigns with a Superman punch right across his face and got the crowd fired up even more. Like, the Wild trailed in this game for a good amount of time. I don't know what the splits were, but they were probably trailing for at least half of, if not more, of this game.
Yep.
Never felt like it because the crowd was so into it the entire game. It was awesome. It was
a lot of
awesome
fans
to have a sellout crowd.
When it looked like the Jets had scored their 6th goal,
a
lot of fans started to leave, and then
and
the camera started to show fans like coming back in after it was waved. So
I hope they got back
stuck
in.
Around, stuck around that long. Just sit in your seat. It's an exciting team.
The 3-on-3 OT format is one of the best changes made across all of sports I've ever seen.
Easily.
Yeah, it's a blast.
All sports. It's incredible. Like,
it's a blast.
It literally goes to a pond hockey format, which is, with where the skill is now, it's incredible. Like, I don't think that I'm hard pressed to think of changes made in sports in the last 20 years that are as good as, and 4-on-4 was okay, but 3-on-3 is absolutely the sweet spot. It's so much fun to watch. And when you're as fast now, and you guys recall, I used to chart like who they would put out there 3-on-3. Here's Koivu. Here's Parisi. Here's Suter. Here's another slow guy who's skating in quicksand. Now it's bang, 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 bang.
The tic-tac-toe sequence at the end of that game. And by the way, it was because they were still on the power play.
Yeah.
And there was a 2-on-1 going Talbot's direction, right?
Great save.
And he makes a save, and then all of a sudden, boom, breakaway. And the first, I'd have to go look and see again and watch the play, but like the outlet pass to set up that first pass to set up the 3-on-1, and then you're thinking, okay, just don't get stupid here. Don't take too many passes. I was kind of like, oh, it's too many passes. No, it was perfect.
The skill is
just
so
ridiculous.
High there. Exactly.
So
Parisi would have gotten the tic-tac-toe pass and directed it wide. Like missed the net.
Yeah.
Like that's what used to happen.
Yeah. Well, that was a blast last night. And, maybe they lose their next 4 and we start ripping them in a week. But we always will have the first 3 games of the new Wild era.
Exactly. Oh, hold on.
Grab the flag.
There we go. Got it. Come on. There it is. State of hockey flag.
Today is also a Write That Down and Accountability Session Wednesday. You guys are going to admit that you were wrong, right? Yes. Every Wednesday on Mackey and Judd and Purple Daily. So that's coming up. Stick with us.